got to know him and got to see him play. And there's a lot of good things about Andre as a person and as a leader that we really like. And I think he improved as a football player this year. I would say we're not to that point yet. Just with where we're at from a roster standpoint, we mentioned how many UFAs that we have this year, how many expiring contracts that we need to work on. And so I'm glad he's under contract. You know, it can take a breath because he's there. But we have just kind of a major order of business with this current group to handle before kind of get to that step. But really excited about what he did this year at the same time.
Josh had mentioned that you and Josh Jacobs' representation have been in dialogue. Any characterization on where that might be, and any feeling of it can get done before the deadline for the free agent or the franchise tag?
Yeah, I would say it's still very fluid. You know, those conversations have. We've had a few of them, getting everybody's ideas on the table. We'll continue to work through that process this week. You never know. I mean, I've been involved in deals that I thought were going to take 2 months, and they got done in 2 days. And I've had the experience of doing deals that I thought were going to get done quickly that don't. And so, there's a deadline coming up, and in terms of applying the tag. March 7th, I believe, is the date. So we understand what that deadline is, and we're going to continue to work that process this week. So I can't put like a specific thing, a specific time on it, or I'd say like a gut feeling on what it's going to be or not going to be. Just irresponsible. I've been done this too many times. I know that would kind of paint yourself in a corner that way. But I'd say the commonality is that we want Josh to be a Raider, and that Josh wants to be a Raider. And so that's a really good place to start. And, hopefully we'll work to get some common ground here sooner than later.
Is it a question of either tag or contract, or is that too simple to say it that way?
Well, both things are on the table. Yeah, I don't think that we've made up our mind and just said like on either side, but like, hey, we're not, if it's a tag, then forget it. You know what I mean? Or making the decision that we're not going to do the tag. I think that both of those opportunities are on the table. They should be on the table, and again, we'll see how it plays out. But I'd say it could go either way in terms of how it gets executed.
Because of the way most of your contracts are structured, next year's books are pretty clean. I think right now. I mean, it's an estimate because we don't know the cap.
Sure.
It's like over $100 million. Is that something that was intentional to sort of keep that kind of open in terms of planning for future moves, or just kind of happen that way?
Well, some of that happened before we, the results of things that happened before we got here. So I'm not going to take full responsibility for that. But I would say that, the intentionality is of, and this isn't going to happen every time, is doing deals that, not having a plethora of deals that end up putting you tight against the cap, like having cap flexibility, having a healthy cap growth, or having a healthy cap situation. I think we like the flexibility that gives us, to be able to not only, it's not always about re-signing or signing a player that's out there, but re-signing your own players in particular, which we've talked about wanting to, really kind of grow that continuity within our organization. And so I think philosophically, we would always like to kind of operate with some healthy cap and not kind of, be tight against it. I've worked in those situations, and that's hard because you end up making decisions on your roster sometimes during the season, week to week, that are predicated by the cap. Even to the point of like, hey, we're not going to elevate this player this week because of the cap situation, or you're constantly restructuring guys during the year. So there's a bit of, I'd say, intentionality on our part. That we want to have that flexibility as we go through kind of each individual year.
Is it your intention to be aggressive in free agency? I mean, do you have a long list of guys you're like, yeah, I think we can add these people, or is it still too early to make that decision?
I think that you can develop your philosophy before free agency starts. Now, sometimes that plan doesn't work out just based on how the market materializes and things of that nature. We're always going to have a group of players, I would say, in free agency that you just know based on what the market is and what conversations are. If you want to get that player, you're going to have to do that in the first couple days of free agency. And then there's going to be another pool of players that you're going to make the decision on, like this position group or this player, whatever it may be. We're going to wait. We're going to sit and wait and see how the market materializes. And I think that is predicated on maybe the depth of that position. That may be predicated on what the draft the surplus and demand in the draft at that certain position is. So I think there's a few different variables that go into making that decision. But yeah, there's situations where there's probably, I think, unless you're planning on sitting free agency out, and you just go in with that mindset, there's always going to be a player or two that that if you're going to do a deal, you're going to have to do that in the front side of free agency. And there'll be some players like that this year also.
Is Jared Stidham still, I mean, is that in the picture, kind of the guy and bringing back?
Yeah, it's in the picture. Like anything, those conversations are fluid, and he's not under contract at this point. And so we're happy with what he did, and he's a player obviously that because of his experience in the system, there's value in that. And so we'll look at that market. And there's a lot of players in that market, this year that that we've evaluated, that going to be a part of that equation too. And so we'll see how it ends up working out. But ultimately, we'd like Jarrett to be a Raider going forward, and just have to see how it fits together.
The 2 games that he played, did that open up your eyes a little, or kind of validate what you felt he was capable of doing?
Yeah, well, I think anytime we had never seen him play a live football game, and so anytime you get to see someone where the bullets are really flying, playing against top tier competition on the other side of the ball, there's value in seeing that. And so there was value in seeing that with Jarrett. And we've always thought Jarrett was a good football player, and that he had the potential to play well. Seeing it, yes, it provides more validation. There's less question marks. Now it's a 2-game sample. We also were 0-2 in those 2 games, and so while yes, there's some validation to it, I'd still say there's still a lot of questions to answer on that position because the sample size is so small.
Do you ever feel like there's pressure or maybe even an anxiousness to make sure that you're hitting the draft right, so you're not having to rely on free agency to try to build the team?
Yeah, it's a healthy pressure, and it's a healthy kind of anxiousness. I mean, it's part of like the juice of like the fun of being in personnel.
let's just play some
But to
matches.
your specific question, yeah, we want to improve our homegrown talent. That's something that hasn't, materialized here over the years. And, it shows you it's a difficult process. There's no guarantees to it. But I think, we feel like, we have an opportunity this year with the amount of picks that we do have, with where we're picking, that we have an opportunity this year to build that core group of players. That doesn't always mean that you have 12 superstars and 12 starters. Some of those guys are working class individuals that provide depth to your team too. But yes, there's a healthy excitement, a healthy anxiousness and anxiety to we have that opportunity in front of us and go capitalize on it.
Do you feel like there's a number of starters that you need to pull out of the draft, or is it kind of fluid each year?
I think it's fluid. I think it's fluid on where your team is, and I think it's hard to say to put that expectation on a player to say, okay, we're drafting these guys, and we need these 4 guys in the draft. Yes, I don't really put I want them all to be starters, but I don't really go in there and put a specific number on it. We plan to come out of the draft with some guys that are starters for the Raiders for a long time. I would say that.
It's time for a couple more guys. Yeah, this time last year, probably in a little bit of scramble mode, just kind of coming aboard. Can you quantify where you are this year compared to last year, being ahead of the game for the draft for off-season?
Yeah, we're a lot farther along. We just, we had that time, if you remember, like I was on the job a little bit over a year. They had already done their free agency process. They had went through, they graded all the free agents. They had graded them on the scale that they were using. They graded them in the system that they were scouting for. And so we are in the opposite end of that spectrum this year. And so that provides a lot more clarity for us, a lot more clarity for the scouts as they went through the fall of knowing what we were looking for. There was a lot less learning. There's still a lot of learning going on. Scouts last year were learning the grading scale and how to interpret it, and they're trying to evaluate the player, and they're trying to evaluate the player's system in a very condensed amount of time. So a lot farther along in those regards. And then in the draft, I would say the same thing. It's the same dichotomy. They were evaluating under a different scale for a different system. And so we're a lot farther along. Does that guarantee better results. He would hope it does, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that's the case. But we're confident that the continuity that we've had, the amount of learning that's taken place over the last year, the group of talented scouts that we have in the system, that it's going to pay result for us.
Hey, I was talking to Josh about this. Fans don't want to hear it, I think it's an excuse, but prior to the election, their drafting has been excellent, especially the first time. As a GM, how frustrating is that when you got a roster of heavy guys that you've done the homegrown and didn't have to draft? How hard was that to deal with?
Yeah, well, I think you know what the situation is. You know, you evaluate the situation before you take one of these jobs, and so you know what the kind of what the landscape is and what's missing and what needs to be built. And the reality is that going back to the homegrown, piece of the homegrown talent, the situation is what it is, and so now we have to figure out the solutions for it. And the solution is drafting. So I wouldn't say frustration or any of those types of things, but again, we knew what we were getting into. We knew what the task at hand was, and we've developed a plan to hopefully make decisions that is going to improve the homegrown talent and boost that young core of players that we need, and that's what we're prepared to do.
Is there a position they think is deep in this draft? Are you looking forward to talking to some of these guys?
Yeah, and I probably, I have some more digging to do. I would say just a couple of the positions on the surface that look like there's some depth to it. On the defensive side of the ball, the cornerback position looks like there's some healthy depth there throughout the position. The tight end position is unique this year. I think this is probably one of the deepest tight end classes that I've seen maybe since I've been in the league. Again, on the surface, but there's quite a few players there. So I'd say those are the two positions that, on the surface looks like there's a good amount of depth at.
Yeah, they'll say.
Gosh, well, I never like to talk in absolutes. I think there always could that happen? Yes, it could happen. Do I see that happening? No, I don't see that happening. I think every year, we've talked about it philosophically, and I think, Ron Wolf had a philosophy in Green Bay that almost every draft they wanted to come out in some form or fashion with a quarterback prospect. And I'm not going to tie myself to that because I don't think it, again, you do an absolute and then it doesn't go that doesn't happen, and then that doesn't work out well for you. But I would say in some form or fashion we're all looking for quarterbacks, and whether it's Chase Garbers last year in free agency after the college free agency after the draft. I think we want to always continue to add to that position. And I think this year will be no different.
Let's talk about this film. Obviously, the quarterback conversation is huge. You're going to have to do a lot of it this week. 4 out of the top 5 guys are thrown. That's a big deal, right? Is that normal? Is that not normal? And what are you excited to see out of this game?
Not recently. I mean, recently it's been kind of the in vogue thing. Just wait till your pro day and do it there. So I love the fact we're going to see a bunch of these guys throw.
Are you going to make sure you talk about, like, if they miss, like, never thrown with this guy? I hope,
oh, yeah.
I hope for the future that this sets a precedent, like, hey, get out there and compete and throw a little bit. Like, I think GMs see a lot out of that when guys choose to throw as opposed to opting out. I think it's a good thing, not a bad thing.
It's a great thing, and you're not going to hurt yourself. You want to see these guys. A lot of them haven't been under center, and I know it's a shotgun game even in the NFL now, but still, it's a chance to just watch them move around with their feet. You can see how the ball comes off your hand, but the timing and the accuracy is going to be spotty for all these guys. You don't know these guys. The line changes, who you've got, who you're with. So I just want to see how they spin it, how the ball comes out of their hand, and how they move around.
Let's talk about the guys. Anthony Richardson's stock is going to be Malik Willis this year. It is going to go through. Remember, Malik gave his jacket to a homeless person on the street here in Indianapolis. That was just a part of the whole thing. Threw the ball, ran well. His highlights at Liberty were incredible. He was almost going to be a first rounder after nobody even knew who he was before Indianapolis. Anthony Richardson's going to be that guy this year?
I think he's got more ability. than Malik. Like there's more.
Well, and also
there.
he played at Florida as opposed
Yeah,
to.
but like were you at the Utah game?
I was not. Dan Orlovsky.
Okay, maybe I heard somebody talk about it
Orlovsky
the other
said
day.
he
Was
loved
Orlovsky-
him. I think.
Yeah, like I've said, if you were in an alien spaceship and you landed, and that's the only week of college football that you watched every game, you'd say that's the best player in the country. Like, he's that gifted. So it's all there. It's just a matter of getting it out of him, going to the right place. I think he needs to sit. I know there's some disagreement on that. Yeah, the guy needs to play. And to me, this is the Mahomes plan. Let him sit, let him learn, let him develop, clean some stuff up, and then he could have a huge payoff.
What do you think about C.J. Stroud? What he did against Georgia, he used his legs more. That was the big conversation around Ohio. Is that the conversation around the NFL as well?
Yeah, and even with me individually, when I watched him, I'm like, okay, everything's on time. He's outstanding. He throws a beautiful ball. He can make every type of throw. Everything's natural to him. It just looks so smooth and easy. When he had to move and reset, his accuracy tanked. You didn't see him really make as many plays with his legs. And then all of a sudden you get to the Georgia game, and he's creating all kinds of stuff. Now, part of it is because Georgia gives you the opportunity to do that because they're getting so much heat on you. But the old scouting adage is if you can do it once, you can do it. So I know it's in there. I know we can do it. I just wish we would have saw more of it.
Did you hear all the Ohio Bucks? The Ohio Bucks, AJ and the boys over there in Ohio were like, this is what we've been asking for him to do. He didn't have to. They get to the college football playoff. He didn't have to do it. I assume NFL teams are going to want to see him move because that's where the game is headed. You thinking?
Yeah, you got to be able to create, and it's not like I'm not asking him to do what Anthony Richardson does, who's got like 60, 80-yard touchdown runs. I just want to say, hey, if you get a free rusher, can you make this guy miss instead of just taking a sack or throwing the ball away, and give us a chance to make something happen? And that was something you just didn't see a lot. So the fact that he can't do it is encouraging to know that hey, that's in there. That's part of his game. It's going to have to be. You can't to be a statue in today's league. You can't do it anymore.
I don't want to harp on this because we've talked about it, but it is Combine Week, and he's potentially the #1 overall pick. Bryce Young's talent outweighs his size.
Yeah, I think it does. I don't think he fits for all 32.
Former scout in the NFL.
Yeah.
Potential GM someday, which is the person who used to have your job, got a GM title and a GM job. TV, that happens. You're dialed in. You think there's going to be people that are just like, he's small, but the guy's a freak. Is that what the conversation is about Bryce Young?
Yeah, you have to talk yourself into the size. And I've had buddies around the league when you talk to him, they're like, dude, I know how much you love him, but you got to see him in person because you got to see it. He's just not big.
Coaches are going to be very anti-Bryce Young.
Yeah, well, you know how it is. They all want the prototype.
Yes.
But
because potential can get your ass fired. You know what I mean? Like, I think scouting departments potentially see the talent and everything like that. Football coaches, though, are going to be like, look what they give us.
I think, though, it's two part of it. But I think you're going to see him. I don't think they don't see the plays. But it'll be one of those deals where the first time you pass him in the hallway, you're going to sit there and no way. You can't do this. Then they're going to sit in the room with him. They're going to listen to this guy talk ball, and he's going to talk about every protection that they're running. He's going to talk about where guys are coming from.
The final stretch.
Oh, really?
And they'll change their team. I talked to coaches at Alabama that said, you play on Saturday. On Sunday, they have a team of zillion guys working in the analyst department. So
all fired coaches.
Yeah, exactly. So they have a packet of the next team you're going to play on a Sunday. So you play on Saturday night. Sunday morning, you come to get your treatment at the facility. They give you your packet for the next.
This guy's so garbage.
Sunday, they're going to watch
So garbage, this fucking guy.
They said he'd show up Monday. Be like, hey, I don't really like this route against the coverage we're going to see.
Oh, man.
Like
That's the most important thing.
He had swallowed the whole thing and had adjustments he wanted to make protection-wise, route-wise, and he said a lot of times we ended up incorporating what he was doing because it was really good.
So he didn't win.
What's that?
He played at Bama.
Didn't get it.
Didn't win. He's at Bama.
Yeah. Oh, in terms of winning the ultimate thing.
Yeah.
So
I would
trash.
say if you watched
So
last year's
trash.
draft and you saw the 900 Georgia
Water
defenders
Dragon? Wow.
that got drafted, and you watched the SEC championship game when his receivers were healthy, and it was a track meet, and he was going up and down the field against all those NFL dudes. And then the receiver hurts his knee. Mechie's out as well.
Yep.
He's got no wideouts the second time they play him. So I've seen him against an elite, as good as there is, literally the most talented defense in college football history. You can pull up the numbers, but I want to say 450 and 4 whatever.
Hey, you
he
love
did
Bryce
against
Young, it sounds like.
Yeah, I'm a big fan.
Okay, you're changing the way I think of it, because I haven't met him as a
7,752
person,
battles.
and I didn't know any of that stuff. I just look at
7,752 battles.
The quarterbacks are going to get hit.
Yeah.
Like quarterbacks are going to get hit, and these are big fucking dudes. Especially if they're going to change the sling and the slam thing.
Right.
Like there is going to be hits that come. If I am drafting a guy, I would like to see him survive. I'd like to see him make it. You think that because brain acumen is the biggest. That is the most
He
important
got
part of it all.
MVP
He can make every
with
throw.
3 and 3?
He's a baller.
Wow.
You think that is something that's certainly going to outweigh everything.
Look, if he's in a draft and I've got my choice
No
of
way.
6'6"
No
Trevor Lawrence
way.
or Bryce Young, I'm going to take Trevor Lawrence.
Strictly because of the 6'6"
I'm saying
survival.
I mean, he's
No
they're
good.
similar players. This guy's got the size.
No
To me, I think
fucking
the
good.
gap is players between him and Stroud. I just think he's a better player. So all things equal, I'd much rather have. Yeah, obviously we all want bigger guys. There's not a Joe Burrow in this draft. There's not a there's not an Andrew Luck. There's not a Trevor Lawrence. So with what we have in this draft, I think he's clearly the best one, and I think he's one that can go out and be successful in the right spot. I think Indy is the perfect spot for him.
Really? And Jim
Perfect.
Irsay loves him.
Yeah.
Jim
Well,
Irsay's-
but do you think he was just
So
sandbagging there?
I don't know. Like that would be funny if they decided to use Steichen's press conference as a work, and him and Chris Ballard are both working in there. That sounded like an off-air conversation that carried into a press conference.
Yeah.
Because Chris Ballard said, or trade back, right? And Jim goes, this guy loves picks over here. You could hear like Jim and Chris conversation off-air taking place up there.
Yeah.
That guy from Bama looks pretty good. It was like, I think that was Jim telling Chris again
Yeah.
what he said off-air
Yeah.
on air. But who cares? If you're going to get to number one, you're going to get to number one anyways, which I think the Colts might make a play at some point.
I just feel like with them specifically, like of all the teams that could make a trade or go up there for a quarterback, it makes the most sense. Like
Carolina, you think?
I think even more so for Indy. I just think Indy's been on this veteran carousel for so long and trying just the short term. I think their team's good enough where I don't think they're going to be picking all the way up here again. So this is your shot. You're there. Just make it happen. Go get the guy. And don't sit there and wait at 4 and cross your fingers that the guy you like is going to be.
Well, and Jim Irsay has tweeted, obviously go up to the top, please. My relationship with the Chicago Bears goes back more than 60 years. I mean, he is, Jim Irsay is a lightning rod. He is awesome, and he's riding a bear at the Lincoln Park Zoo. His dad made his money in Chicago, HVAC units, I believe, for every building in Chicago. That's where he got his money. Then they go to Baltimore. Then they come over to Indianapolis. I don't know who created the patent for the HVAC. I mean, that story has obviously been told in many different ways. But I think Jim grew up in Chicago.
Is that that's a real bear?
Yeah, him and Putin, bro.
Goddamn
Yeah.
right.
That's what they do, bro.
And what's his name? The MMA who does this stuff too.
Oh, Habib.
Oh yeah, Habib.
The whole-
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
everybody
He's
from that
like full
country-
on wrestling those dudes, man.
Oh,
Those
yeah.
videos are insane.
Yeah, the internet has really allowed us to understand that people do a lot more with bears than I thought.
Oh, yeah.
And people are a lot more loose with bears.
Now
Jackie
we're gonna
Moon
do
and
some damage.
Precious.
Dicking with.
Yeah, like Jack.
Smacking them.
Oh, look at this little fucking.
Now we're going to do some fucking damage.
Like, semi-pro is my only time of thinking that. But then on the internet, it's like over there in like
Dagestan.
and Russia.
Yeah.
Yep.
They
Crimea.
They just like bears are dogs almost.
Oh my, that's crazy. Like I'll give you my one bear story.
They'll
So,
always beat us because of that. I think.
Cocaine bear now too.
I'm in Alaska. on vacation. We can take a little float plane into this little area, right into this little lodge, and then they've got they cook the salmon for you and all that to see the glaciers. So the kids are little, and I'm like, I gotta do something to entertain the kids while we're kind of waiting for the plane to start. I'll do like an obstacle course like this. So I set this thing up on the grass. All of a sudden, a bear is coming out there, and my little daughter. She's head down, like I got to get her head up as a runner. She's head down like this, and I'm like I'm like sprinting out to her, like stop, and she thinks I'm just trying to make it so that my son wins the race. No, it's a bear. It's like a real bear.
It's amazing to think about you. And this is what a scout would do, buddy.
Yeah.
All right. Let's put a little 3-cone drill out here. See, and your
Little kid
daughter,
combine.
and your daughter, competitive, like, oh, my dad shot screwed me over here. I ain't even thinking about it. Happy to hear nobody died from that
Yeah,
bear.
we're good.
Yeah, that's great. That might have been the bear.
That's kind of what it looked like. Yeah.
Hey, congrats to that bear being a cool bear, not a cocaine bear. Because I think if it was a cocaine bear, your daughter.
Has anybody seen that, by the way?
No, we just heard Bill.
Yeah, Bill said best movie ever.
Our photographer, Bill McComas, Billy, also the guy who codes on YouTube, he said, good movie. Dumb movie. He said, but good movie. He said that the bear really loved cocaine. Like, that's been everybody's big takeaway is that that bear loved coke more than anybody else. And I'm very pumped to kind of watch. Let's go with the last quarterback, thing, Levis.
Yeah.
Out of Kentucky, right? Numbers not that good. Kentucky not that good. He has the body type, though. That's what everybody's thinking. And he can spin it. We saw some clips, or he can spin it. And Hendon Hooker. who
Yeah.
we are a big fan of. Happy to see he made your top 50.
Yeah, I feel like there's been enough talk about him.
We thought that as well.
You know, he's a good player. I think, anyways, all the age and the injury. Look, you should be thinking about things in terms of 4 or 5 years. Everything can change. If you tell me right now I'm going to get 4, 5, 6 years of really above average, borderline, close to elite quarterback play, take guys older, take it. Man. So to me, Tate is really, really good, and he's accurate, he's big, he can move around. We'll see where he ends up going, but to me, I think if he didn't get hurt, I think we'd be talking about him.
I agree, and that was a video of Hendon that he posted from his workout. He can fucking spin it.
Massive hands.
Yeah,
I saw him hold the ball.
Yeah, he was on our program.
Yeah.
And we basically told him, like, hey, we're big fans. He was at a beans.
Bush's baked beans.
Bush's beans. He was at Bush's beans, and he had the hooker beans, I believe. And I obviously game day went to 2 Tennessee games.
Yeah.
So I got to see a lot of him. And I got to see the reaction of him. I got to meet his parents. I got to meet everything.
I love it.
Dude, the guy is...
I feel great about him. Yeah, I'm curious to see where it's an intriguing guy where he.
Where is he projected?
Well, I put him in my top 50, but I think he's probably in that second round range. But like I'm looking at the team, the Saints, right? You're picking in there. Yeah. He's better than anybody. He's over Randy Dalton at this point in time. We already know what Jameis is. He feels better.
Great leader.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I take a shot on him.
Heupel's offense is a lot of option routes too. So
Yeah.
he's thinking pre-snap and post-snap down there in Tennessee, and they had a lot of success.
The hard thing with that offense is they literally spread. They're like 2 yards from the sideline inside, and they put Hyatt track star in the slot. For some reason, everybody in the SEC thought it'd be a wise idea to put a safety down there over him. He just throws vertical after vertical after vertical.
Hits
after
it,
vertical. Oh, it's beautiful.
Which
yeah.
is a big deal. Let's talk
But it's
about
a little
Levis.
different. It's gonna be an adjustment for him. He's playing a little more convinced.
Let's talk about Levis a little bit.
Yeah.
Puts mayonnaise in his coffee. Eats bananas with the peels on.
Yeah.
I like that he's an independent thinker. Like as a quarterback, I like a unique guy who is his own person. Is it all just because he looks like an NFL quarterback that people like him, or what do you think the big hype is around him? Kentucky was not ever really in the conversation. No offense, Kentucky. They'll come back in the conversation. Love Kentucky. But they were never really in the combo. Is he going to do well in the combine, and what do you think it is?
Yeah, I mean, he's got everything you want in terms of the size, the arm strength, the athleticism. The toughness. You watched him last year, he was better offensive line.
Is he third rounder, offensive line, they get a guard who's third round or something like that?
Yeah. So this year they just didn't have a ton around him. That doesn't excuse the fact that he was not good on tape when you watch him. Now, one of the things that he had a toe injury, I believe, on his left foot, and I think he had his left shoulder. So I didn't know that when I'm watching him. I'm literally taking my notes, and I'm like, dude, everything this guy throws to the left, he's totally closed off. He's working against himself. His accuracy goes down big time. And then I find out later, well, gosh, he had a toe, he had the shoulder. He didn't run as much. Like the year before, I think he had 9 rushing touchdowns. Like they used him more with his legs, and he couldn't. He was hurt. So you got to factor all that stuff in together. And then he's supposed to be somebody again who's really smart. They rave about him from all that. There's a zillion sacks. So at the combine, when I'm sitting in the room with him, if you're a team, we're going to watch these turnovers, we're going to watch these sacks, see what happened, and maybe you come out of that feeling a little bit better about it than
They
you
got
did
him
beforehand.
like top 5 quarterback, top 4 quarterback. Is there going to be a quarterback heavy top 10, top 15?
I think so. There's just enough teams that need them, and they're all. I feel like they're in the same divisions. Like it's the South, the NFC South, and the AFC South. Everybody needs quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So.
We know.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing about with the Texans and the Colts, that's a 2 for 1 because not only if you go up to get one, not only do you get him, but you keep him from a team inside your division.
Yeah, D'Amico obviously, and the Texans are going to get hungry.
I was calling. We interviewed Pete Weber, and we were wondering why he was not invited to the U.S. Open.
He didn't get the criteria. He didn't submit an application.
So, but hasn't he won the U.S. Open many times? That I feel like that's the criteria right there.
If you go to the website, the U.S. Open offers certain criteria that you have to meet. It's 10 years past that. For the last 10 years.
But it's Pete fucking Weber. On today's Part of My Take, we have QB1 Justin Fields in person. We taped it on Friday of Super Bowl week. Very excited for people to listen to this interview. We're also going to talk about life without football. It is the first show without football. We have Hot Seat, Cool Throne. We have Guys on Chicks. And a reminder, on Friday, we're going on vacation, so Friday will be Dungeons & Dragons. But it's all brought to you by our friends at BetterHelp. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. When you're at your best, you can do great things, but sometimes life gets you bogged down, and you may feel overwhelmed, or like you're not showing up in the way that you want to. Working with a therapist can help you get closer to the best version of you, because when you feel empowered, you're more prepared to take on everything life throws at you. Whether you've never been to a therapist, whether you've been thinking about it, BetterHelp will be there for you. Make sure you take care of your mental health. Very important. That's why we're all going on vacation this week after a long football season. BetterHelp is there for you if you're thinking of giving therapy a try. BetterHelp is a great option. It's convenient, flexible, affordable, entirely online. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. If you want to live a more empowered life, therapy can get you there. Visit BetterHelp.com/PMT today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/PMT, BetterHelp.com/PMT to get 10% off your first month. They will help you. I know people who've used BetterHelp. It is a great, great tool to make sure that your mentals are in a good spot. Be the best you with BetterHelp. BetterHelp.com/PMT. Okay, let's go. Welcome to Pardon My Take. Today is Wednesday, February 15th, and it's Life Without Football, boys. We are back into the abyss. The season is over. We've turned the page, except I have some gripes. But we've turned the page, PFT. We're once again without football.
Yeah, we're trying to move on, trying to collect ourselves. It's always a weird time of year for us. This is when we kind of go crazy a little bit on the show. Expect like a week and a half of complete nonsense, like more so than usual on this podcast, because we're scrambling. We're trying to find ourselves, we're trying to switch seasons. This is the time of year where we famously got arrested at the dog show because it was the first week without football, and we had no idea what to do with ourselves. But yeah, it's been. I'll say this about whoever made the calendar. Go fuck yourself for putting Valentine's Day the day after the Super Bowl. That's not the thing. No one ever had any idea that. So if you got in trouble for forgetting Valentine's Day, just tell your significant other. Literally everybody forgot about it. It didn't happen this year, basically.
It didn't happen. I think someone pointed out that in 2027, Valentine's Day is Super Bowl Sunday. That is just a big fuck you to every guy in the world. Yet again, I'll stand up on my soapbox and say that the universal bye should be enacted. We should push the season even a further week back so that we have the Monday after Super Bowl off with President's Day. And it always feels like when football ends, it's like, okay, I'm done with winter. I want winter to end as well. So we need to get football all the way to the end of February, and then we'd be like, winter's over as well. We're all good. We're out of this. So, again, we should have a bye week that there's no NFL football in 1 week, sometime maybe in like early December, so everyone get their Christmas shopping in, reset with their family. You can put some bowl games on that Sunday, and every team gets off. Every team's fresh for the stretch run, and then we get Super Bowl Sunday on the Sunday before President's Day, Monday off. Winter's over.
So, yeah, that sounds like a great idea in theory. In practice, when that Sunday would happen to us, we would go insane. We'd be like, where the fuck is the NFL games?
I agree, but it would also
the
be...
The 18-game season solves that problem, but we are pro player. So we can't really... I can't go out and say, like, straight up, make them play 18 games. I'll just say it would be wonderful if the season ended on the day before President's Day, so we got that time off. Also, you're absolutely right about, like, I can deal with cold weather and winter when there's football on TV.
Right.
So if I see snow on television and big dudes run around hitting the shit out of each other, I'm like, hell yeah, I'm winter tough. I can get through this. This is good football weather.
If I lose
But
one
the
more,
second's over.
I'm
If you don't
done.
have football,
Fuck this day.
what's the point of having football weather when there's no football?
It's very simple. The calendar, like when people are like, how do you deal with winter? December winter doesn't count because everyone's in the festive mood. You bundle up, you drink some whiskey. It's a fun time. January winter doesn't count because you have playoffs. You have NFL playoffs, so you get excited before every weekend. You're like, hey, Monday through Friday, whatever. I'm just thinking about the weekend. February, winter, when there's no football, come on, guys. We need to have it so it goes all the way to the end of February. Then you turn around and it's like 2 weeks till March Madness, and then boom, next thing you know, you're napping on your couch with the Masters, and then it's a few games of baseball. Then boom, football's back.
Then we're smooth sailing right back into football season.
Yeah.
Now, if this did happen and we got the week off, the bye week, Pro Bowl week was the week that the Super Bowl is right now, that would mean that occasionally Valentine's Day would be on that Sunday with no football whatsoever.
Perfect.
And that would be perfect for America. Like the Sunday of the bye week actually should be Valentine's Day. We should stop making it February 14th. It should just be whatever that bye week is before the Super Bowl, when there's no football on TV for everybody to be distracted by.
Yes. And we will obviously, we love talking about all the other sports. I do like when the calendar turns a little bit just because we can get into other sports. March Madness coming up. NBA All-Star Weekend is this weekend in Salt Lake City. So the plan is we're taking a brief vacation. We will have a new show for everyone on Friday. So it will be our Dungeons & Dragons show. This one is special because we did it in front of the green screen, so make sure you watch on the YouTube as well. And if you have not listened to any of our Dungeons & Dragons episodes, we are starting a brand new adventure. So you can go into it fresh, and it was by far the best one we've ever done. We had Nick Tarani back on. It was like, 3 hours of Tim Woods just taking us through the darkness of his mind in just a beautiful, beautiful way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The first absolutely from Tim Woods of the year hits so different.
Slaps.
And I think it might be one of the funniest things we've ever done. Like, visually it's going to be amazing. I saw some of the clips behind the scenes. And, let's just say that Hank has a hard time keeping his pants down.
Yes. The graphics that have gone into this are, like, actually insane. It's going to be, like, one of the best productions that, like, Barstool itself has ever done.
Yes.
There's, like, 100 different graphics and 12 guys working on this.
I say the funniest thing that we've ever done, what I really truly mean by that is the funniest thing that Quiggs and Trey and Evan and everybody that helped produce this behind the scenes has done. The visuals are just electric. So listen to the podcast, but also it's a must watch.
Yes, it is. And we do love doing episodes non-football season. We get to stretch our legs, do different stuff. We actually already discussed an idea of maybe doing a Man Movie Friday in the summer where we only watch the best action movies and do a review. So that might happen. Talking Jean-Claude Van Damme, just his entire anthology.
That should be our book club.
Yeah.
The Andrew Luck book club for Part of My Take is just watching movies and then talking about man.
Yeah. And March Madness is coming up, which is my favorite time of the year. So let's do some Super Bowl cleanup, though. Max, I saw Max today walking in the office. He was maybe the saddest thing that you can do right after football season ends. He was just trudging through. He went out to get lunch. I think he came back with a salad. Such a bummer to be like, oh, well, my team lost, and now it's salad time. How are you feeling, Max?
I need a lot of salads. I need a lot of salads.
Are you coping? Because, like, Monday it was a travel day. We all traveled back from the Super Bowl. Today I woke up and I was like, damn, I really wish the Eagles had just won that game. That was really mean of them to not win that game.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, for sure. And for some reason, there's a lot more people that are noticing me on the streets after this.
Oh, no.
And it's a lot harder when people just come up to me and are legitimately just like, I'm really sorry for your like someone has died. Like someone has died. It's like I'm really sorry for your loss. And like I don't really know what to say to that. I'm like, yeah, it sucks. Because then they go into it more and it's like legitimately looking and like they're like, are you okay? With this stranger that's happened way more than it's ever happened before this game on Sunday.
Yeah.
You do have like a part of you did die. It was a part of your soul that like is different now because you went through that. It's like your own version of PTSD. You have post Mahomes traumatic syndrome. And actually, shout out to the guy on the Instagram page I saw this comment. Your face after the game in the iconic pose that you have in the chair where you're just looking, you got the 1,000-yard stare, and somebody commented like, "This dude looks like post Mahomes," which was just such a perfect name for your sad face in that situation. But Max, it gets better. It
does.
It'll get better. And you know what's probably going to happen is I'm sure Villanova's going to go on a nice little run for you.
No.
You said that you care more about Villanova than you do about the Eagles. So having Villanova get back in the tourney, they're probably going to win. They're probably going to win the conference tournament, get that automatic qualifier, slot in, underdog, and they're going to make it. They're going to make it to the Final Four, and you're going to be on the moon again in no time.
This is Hank. By the way, everyone is back. Billy, welcome back. Hank is not back. He's playing golf. So we're all here. He's playing golf. That's fine. Vacation is a sacred time for him. So, Max, I have something for you. The Chiefs are the better team. I fully admit that. Patrick Mahomes is maybe the most likable star ever. He's won 2 Super Bowls. He's had an incredible start to his career, and I still like him a lot. Like, that usually doesn't happen in sports. He did also chirp me after the game. This was after we recorded. He just hit me up and just said, "Sorry, bud," and crying face emoji. So that hurt a little bit. But I have something for you, Max, okay? You ready for this? Because everyone needs something to cope with. And I think the holding penalty was, whether you want to say, oh, they should have called then, James Bradbury admitted to the hold. The hold happened. I actually, PFT, here's my take on the holding penalty. I actually think it was bad coaching. I think it was bad coaching because the coaches should have told them, the only thing that can fuck us here is a first down. If a guy burns you, let him score. So in a weird way, like, that's coaching where you have to know situational awareness. A touchdown is not the worst outcome. The worst outcome is exactly what happened, a first down and the game ending with them kneeling.
Yeah, in real time when we were watching that, after they got that first down, and then they had that run that looked like, I think it was Pacheco that was, he was getting close to the goal line. It was McKinnon? Yeah, okay, so McKinnon was getting close to the goal line, and then he let up at the last second and went down. That's actually also a bit of coaching on the Eagles because the Eagles were very obviously letting McKinnon try to score. The Eagles should have made it look like they were trying to tackle McKinnon because McKinnon on that run saw that everybody let up, and then in his mind he's like, wait a second, that's right, I got to go down. If they were actually chasing him or like pushing him towards the end zone, that's what I would have done if I were the Eagles in that situation.
Yeah, I agree. And I also had the discussion that I know that people get mad at Jackson Mahomes. He had that video of him dancing behind Patrick talking on the desk. I'm totally reversed now. Well, I never really hated Jackson Mahomes. I think Patrick Mahomes is even more likable that he's just such a ride-or-die family guy. Where he's like, yeah, my brother wants to make these, like, let my brother live. Like, let him have fun. This is my moment, but it's my family's moment. Fuck everyone else. It makes me like Patrick Mahomes even more.
Listen, who out there doesn't have a fuck-up brother? Eric was an asshole. We've all dealt with this type of thing. And when it comes to your brother, like, dancing behind you, he's done a great job. Jackson, shout out Jackson for voluntarily, or maybe he had a talk with Patrick, who knows, but Jackson made himself scarce this season. He was not a distraction, and Patrick's, I have a hard time, like, going after an athlete's wife or, like, making fun of him.
Yeah, it's weird.
Like, okay, they're high school sweethearts. It's really weird to attack somebody. There were a couple, like, things that got caught on just, like, sideline cameras and stuff at basketball games, and people turned it into a big thing, like Patrick and Brittany are at each other's throats. That was always a little bit uncomfortable for me, but she also kind of took herself out of the public eye this year a little bit. And it's like, okay, we're gonna take a step back and let Patrick do his football season. And now that we won, it's fucking on. And that's exactly how it should be.
Yeah.
Everybody out there has family members that get on their nerves sometimes. And credit to both of them for making it work. It seems like whatever they did this season, I don't know. Jackson might just go on a victory tour of all victory tours.
But that's
and
fine.
Just be on the sidelines for actual games next season. Instead of calling plays, they'll have him like signal the plays in by doing a different form of the griddy. That would be actually kind of funny.
Yeah.
They all work together this year.
And Patrick Mahomes is, like I said, one of the most likable superstars. He's the best quarterback in the NFL. He's the best player in the NFL. The Chiefs, I do think, like the fact that the Eagles didn't get a single stop for the entire second half, that's when championships are made. So I'm not going to sit here and gripe, but if you wanted to maybe gripe and cope and be angry at something, I may have spent a little bit of the morning doing some research. This is an alternate, like, I'm accepting defeat. Max, you've accepted defeat. For anyone out there who doesn't want to accept defeat, here's what you could potentially talk about.
I hope I did, yeah.
Sod game.
Sodgate is real.
Sodgate is very, very real right now. Sodgate, PFT, I don't know if you've done any reading. We talked about it on Sunday, how bad the field was. George Toma, the sod father, that was being just completely, like walked around, hey, the sod father has done it. He's done every single Super Bowl. 56 Super Bowls he's been at. This was his last Super Bowl.
Fuck yeah.
George Toma. PFT, where do you think he worked for the majority of his career?
I think he probably worked somewhere in the Midwest.
He worked for the Kansas City Chiefs. He has 2 Super Bowl rings. He's a Kansas City resident. He's a Kansas City Chiefs fan. He's the sod father. Before the game, he actually said, he was referencing the Super Bowl against the 49ers. He said, I said, Commissioner, this is about that Super Bowl. I'm sticking up for the Chiefs today. Me and Lamar Hunt were so close. This is, again, before the Super Bowl against the 49ers that they won. And then it goes on to say, this year, things are different. The commissioner, told me that I can't stick up for the Chiefs. He says, George, you work for the league pays you, you've got to be neutral. George Toma went on to say, if I had 2 hearts, one would be with the Chiefs and one would be with the Eagles. Billy, do human beings have 2 hearts?
No.
Okay, so he's only got 1 heart. So if he had 2 hearts, he would root for the Eagles as well, but he only has 1, so he can root for the Chiefs. And he also went on to say, which is a little false flag, actually, I hate to say this, but the halftime show is more important than the game. That makes no sense. The game is the most important. Now, okay, guess what? They're both playing on the same field. You can't complain about the sod father when they're both playing on the same field. But do they both have the same knowledge, PFT? Because
I don't know.
The Eagles had to change their cleats multiple times. The Chiefs never changed their cleats. And a guy named Ollie Connolly went through the tape, and he went through every single play, and he charted it. The Eagles' defense had a player slip on 38% of Patrick Mahomes' dropbacks. 5 times they had multiple slippages. The Chiefs' defense had a player slip on only 14% of Jalen Hurts' dropbacks. No multiple slippages. Again, this is fantasy land I'm living in. I'm presenting facts that if you would like to cope, this might be how you'd want to cope. And maybe I did this for an hour this morning.
So if you know anything about this podcast, you know that me and Big Cat we're big turf guys.
Yeah.
We're like, okay, it needs to be a uniform playing field across the NFL. It should be the artificial turf, the field turf that you see, the level of technology and advancement that we've got into it. It's just like playing on nice grass, except you don't need to mow it, you don't need to water it. It's just the perfect playing surface. So that's number 1. So we were right about that. As far as the sod father goes, we talked about the specific breed of grass that it was. It was Tahoma 31 grass, and it was developed by the Oklahoma State University sod team, right? The Oklahoma State University sod team has been bragging about this, and it's a combination of golf grass and football grass all at the same time. I found out why they changed the seed of the grass. They changed the seed of the grass because in the wintertime, if you just have their standard ryegrass, it turns completely brown. You can't have that. They needed the green grass, so that's why they incorporated the rye into it. Now, you're telling me that the sod father was the guy that was responsible for rolling that out by hand?
The sod father was part of the process. He has other guys working for him, but the sod father, again, has 2 Super Bowl rings. And let me just remind you one other fact. He's done every single Super Bowl. He was retiring after this one. That's interesting that he wanted to go out with a win. A 3rd Super Bowl ring. The sod father just cemented his own dynasty.
It's also interesting that he's named after an organized crime figure. Is that really the person that you should be having in charge of? It sounds like the Capo de Tutti Capo knew that at the end he could set off one last car bomb and be on his way.
I also think he stole the name from the White Sox ground screw guy. I've always known him as the sod father. But either way, you actually bring up the natural turf aspect. Wouldn't that be interesting, PFT, if there's maybe a mini mutiny by players saying, hey, we want to play on grass, we don't want to play on turf, it's not as safe for us. Roger Goodell says, okay, I'll hear you guys out. oh, whoops, grass is a skating rink for the Super Bowl, for the Eagles, not the Chiefs. Sounds like we have to do turf on every field.
Yeah, this is a false flag operation, potentially.
Again, I'm not accusing anyone, George Toma, 2-time Super Bowl winner for the Chiefs, of any, 3 times, sorry, of any wrongdoing. I'm just presenting facts. Billy, once again, humans have how many hearts?
1 heart.
1 heart.
Well,
1 heart.
Rihanna has 2 because she's pregnant.
That's true. She has 2 heartbeats, but I had 2 hearts. One would be with the Chiefs and one would be with the Eagles, he added. And he did say before Super Bowl, was it 53 against the 49ers? He said, Commissioner, I'm sticking up for the Chiefs. Me and Lamar Hunt are so close.
Is this guy the dude from the old, was it the Snickers commercial that was painting the end zone for the Chiefs, and he's like hand painting every blade of grass, and then at the end of it, the player comes up to him and says, this is great, but who are the chefs? And then it zooms out and he just painted chefs in the end zone.
Yeah,
it's an all-time commercial. I think this guy seems like he's getting a little bit full of himself.
Also,
like he probably thought this game was all about him.
We didn't bring it up on Sunday, but did you guys see when they were painting the end zones earlier in the week? And it was in the Chiefs end zone. Above it, it said end racism. And everyone was like, huh. So they changed it to it takes all of us. And the Eagles end zone said end racism.
That's nice. Actually, you know what? Shout out to whoever spotted that, because we would have roasted them. The internet would have cooked them for that. So
instead,
you know what? That's why it's important. Like every big organization that does large viewership events should have one just internet troll on their staff to look at everything that they're putting together and be like, what's the internet going to do? What are you going to get roasted for here?
I'm actually going to throw this in the conspiracy file. I think that they did that on purpose to hopefully be a false flag for the shitty field and George Toma, 3-time Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl winner. But they got found out early enough that they had to switch it. Because wouldn't that have been the story? Huh.
Very interesting.
Just asking a question. So, Max, have you done the same rabbit hole?
Yeah, I had that exact tweet pulled up. Like as you were saying it, I had the percentages of how many times that
It's just-
the Eagles fell.
It's just fandom 101 that you lose a game, and again, I maintain the Chiefs were the better team. They made more plays.
I won't maintain that.
Okay, well, they played better in the second half when it matters, and the Eagles defense just no-showed. But if you're a fan, you can't just accept a Super Bowl defeat just laying down. You have to find a reason why this happened and why they should replay the game, and Sodgate is that reason. So, Eagles fans, go for it. Like, Sodgate forever.
I agree. It's important to have something to cope, and James Bradbury took that away from you when he said, I cheated. That was fucked up by James Bradbury. I mean, I get it. I understand.
He didn't mean
he
that.
did probably, he saved that rep from like a lifetime of getting hunted down by a bunch of Eagles fans, just like trying to put bombs in the mailbox. But as far as the excuse that you don't any longer have goes, that's tough. It's tough for Eagles fans to not be like, that's ticky-tack. It should have been called when the guy himself was like, I reached out and grabbed the back. I gave him a little shit on the back.
What if James Bradbury knew about Sodfather and Sodgate and was like, people are going to complain about this and not complain about Sodgate, so I have to come out and say that I did hold them so that we get all the attention on Sodgate. This now is what it must feel like to live inside of Billy Football's brain. I don't really like it. I question everything now.
Well, I'm curious to know, Billy, which conspiracy have you been reading the replies to the replies about?
Well, I did have the sod on the hot seat because I thought it was how they were trying to stop Jalen Hurts' quarterback sneak. Just like take out the run.
No, but it was the defensive line that suffered the most.
I know.
No sacks. Were they a historically great defensive line?
One thing that you're not mentioning is that there's also a screenshot of an apparent face mask on the Jalen Hurts fumble recovery set.
Well, we got to stay focused on Sodgate.
No, well, this is just another thing that I've also been looking into.
This is fans coping 101. I love it. This is how you have to operate as a fan after a bad loss. You just have to screenshot everything and complain about everything, and then slowly as time passes, it just goes away.
This goes deep. It sounds like there's like multiple instances of things that you can bring here, Max. Like I love the fact that you're looking at a face mask on a return fumble that probably happened like, I don't know, 30 yards away from the ball.
I just sent the
on that
screenshot.
play.
All right, let's see it. Also, everyone did see Roger Goodell hug Chris Jones and say, "I don't care how you tackle the quarterback." Just throw that in there as well.
While you guys are looking at this, I have to mention that you mentioned James Bradbury. Juju Smith-Schuster on Twitter 15 minutes ago posted a Valentine's card saying, "I'll hold you when it matters most."
Yeah, he's a huge piece of shit.
That's tough.
No, that's the difference between Eagles and the Chiefs, though, is that the Eagles, we've taken accountability for everything.
Yeah, we haven't been talking about the side.
No, not me. I'm not taking accountability for anything. But the players themselves are just class act through and through. That's why Bradbury isn't throwing the refs under the bus when he knows that he didn't actually hold
When
it.
I think of pieces of shit, I definitely think Kansas City Chiefs, not fans.
Correct. No, not fans. That's players.
Max, I'm watching
I'm a piece
this
of
right
shit.
now. Max, this is sad. This is sad.
But he's got to cope. He's got to cope.
Yeah, I get it. I think you get a month of cope. You get until the new NFL league year.
Yeah.
Whenever that is. Once free agency hits, it's on to next season. But
No,
that one's sad.
It's nice because at the end of the day, no one wants to see their team get beat so badly that it's like, all right, there's nothing that could be done about it. Just like 49ers fans spent a couple weeks being like, if Brock Purdy didn't get hurt, it would have been on. Just like Chiefs fans or Bengals fans talking about Joseph Asai, late hit out of bounds with the extra play of the Chiefs. You just have to do it. It's the only way to get through it. And I hope that in a bar in Philadelphia for the next 5 years, they're talking about this Super Bowl and they're like, but did you know about Sodfather? Did you know about the guy who's got 3 Super Bowl rings from the Chiefs? He did the Sod. And the Eagles fell down 38% of Patrick Mahomes' pass rushes. It might also be that the Chiefs' offensive line was very underrated and they played the game of their life. But let's just go with the Sod.
Yeah, we need to. You can dive into the deeper numbers and see if they slipped on 38% of the plays.
Oh no, this guy
or
did.
if there was.
This guy did.
Was it slipping or was it just falling down? Sometimes people in football games fall down.
Yeah, there was one play that is getting shared a lot where both edge guys beat their guy and just completely fell down.
Forearms, baby. The Super Bowl where the left tackle, I forget who it was, but literally got put on skates. So he got hit and then he
scored! What the fuck is wrong with this guy? What the fuck is wrong with this guy? Oh my god! Oh my god! This fucking piece of shit dragon!
The Panthers.
This fucking piece of shit dragon!
Yeah, you might be right.
Oh, so frustrating playing with people like this.
Father at it again right there.
Yep. He's got his favorites and he plays them. Interesting. Just very, very interesting. His last Super Bowl ever. Can't put a guy in jail who's not doing the Super Bowl next year.
How do you retire from mowing grass?
Well,
that's what most people retire to go do full time.
He's 94 years old.
Oh, well, what the fuck? We should be talking about that.
Yeah, he's 94.
Why is a 94-year-old in charge of installing a playing field for?
This is where it kind of falls apart. I don't think he actually installed anything. I think he was kind of there in almost like a emeritus fashion where he just showed up and was like, grass is good.
He was directing. You don't think he has his guys?
Yeah, his son works for him.
Oh, well, yeah, come on.
It's a family connection. Damn. All right, well, that's Super Bowl cleanup. Should we do, let me do that, and then we'll do our things that we're going to get into post-football. And then we'll do Hot Seat, Cool Throne. Coors Light, when you're juggling work, family, and life in general, things can feel chaotic. That's why Coors Light helps you find moments to unwind all year long. Whenever you need to hit reset, reach for a Coors Light. It's made to chill. There's only one beer out there that's literally made to chill, and that's Coors Light. The mountains
Thank
and the
God
bottles
I'm done
and
playing
cans even
today.
turn blue when your beer is cold. That way, you always know when it's time to chill. When it's time to relax, just open a Coors Light. It's mountain cold refreshment, made to chill. It's the coldest beer out there, the most delicious beer out there. So when it's time to unwind, Coors Light is the beer I reach for. When you hit the reset, grab the beer that's made to chill. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door with Drizzly or Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/take. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. I'm going on vacation. I'm going to be drinking some Coors Light. Summer's right around the corner. It's going to be Coors Light season. Send us those bottles and cans when the mountains turn blue. And it is always Coors Light season, the best, coldest beer out there. Okay, let's do our football. What are we doing post-football? PFT, you want to start? So this is the things that we might get into post-football.
Well, it's important to note that these are things that we're telling ourselves that we're going to get into this offseason.
Mhm.
Who knows if we're no? Actually, I think we're going to follow through this year.
Yeah.
we're gonna. This year's
the
going to be
year.
different.
This is the
I'm
year.
actually I'm motivated to try a few things, because it seems like I've been around a lot of people playing golf a lot
Ooh.
recently, and it seems like the best time.